Listen to me very closely. This tiny, beautiful thing killed a man last summer. His name was Jamie. He was 23 years old. He was on holiday with his girlfriend in Western Australia. It was a completely normal Tuesday morning, the exact kind of morning where the entire world just feels safe. Calm beach, low tide. The sun was warm, but not too hot yet. He was walking along the water and he saw something small moving near the rocks. A tiny little splash of color in a gray, sandy world. He reached down and he picked it up. He wanted to show it to her. He held it in the flat palm of his hand, walked over to where she was sitting on her towel, and he smiled. He literally said, "Look how cool this is." 20 minutes later, Jamie's hands completely stopped working. He dropped his water bottle in the sand and physically couldn't pick it back up. He laughed it off at first. He thought he was just feeling weird. But then his legs went incredibly heavy. Then his tongue went completely numb. Within 30 minutes, his lungs completely stopped moving. He was suffocating in broad daylight. But here is the absolute nightmare. Here is the part that will keep you awake at night. His brain was completely 100% fine. His eyes were wide open. He could see the bright blue sky above him. He could clearly hear his girlfriend screaming his name in absolute terror. He could feel her shaking his shoulders, begging him to wake up. He desperately wanted to tell her he was right there. He wanted to tell her he could hear her. He just couldn't move a single muscle in his body to prove it. And there is no antivenom. Not in that tiny beach town, not in the massive capital city, not in any highly advanced medical hospital on the face of the earth. Nowhere. The thing that killed him was the exact size of a golf ball. And it currently lives on the exact same beaches where you take your kids to play. Because hidden deep inside that microscopic cute little body is a biological weapon of mass destruction. Every single one of these animals is carrying a neurotoxin so unbelievably concentrated that it makes a king cobra look like a harmless garden snake. It is 1,000 times more toxic than pure cyanide. One single blue-ringed octopus carries enough venom inside its tiny body to successfully kill 26 fully grown adult men in under an hour. But the scariest part isn't actually the sheer strength of the venom, it's the delivery mechanism. The beak of a blue-ringed octopus is microscopic and incredibly sharp. When they bite a human, they do not leave a massive, jagged, bleeding wound like a shark or a dog. It's a pinprick, a microscopic scratch. Most victims don't even physically feel it happen. They think they just accidentally stepped on a sharp piece of dead coral, or maybe they got a minor little sea lice sting. You walk out of the ocean water, you dry off with your towel, and you think you are completely fine. You have absolutely no idea that the countdown timer on your life has already started. Let's talk about exactly what is happening inside your body when that timer starts. The venom is called Tetrodotoxin. TTX for short. Think of your human nervous system like a massive, highly complex electrical grid. Your brain is the power plant. It constantly sends electrical signals. Breathe, walk, blink, speak down these massive highways called sodium channels. TTX acts like a master plug. It physically slides right into those microscopic sodium channels and completely blocks the electrical signal from passing through. It doesn't actually damage the physical nerve. It doesn't tear the tissue. It just violently mutes it. First, you experience something doctors call paresthesia. It's a weird, tingling, numb sensation spreading across your lips and your tongue. Then, the ascending paralysis begins. It starts rapidly climbing your body. Your fingers completely lose their grip strength. Your knees suddenly buckle underneath your own weight. You collapse into the sand. And eventually, that creeping darkness reaches the human diaphragm. That is the massive, crucial muscle that actively pulls oxygen into your lungs. When the TTX hits the diaphragm, the electrical grid goes completely dark. You physically stop breathing. But remember Jamie, remember the nightmare of this specific venom. TTX does not cross the blood-brain barrier. It doesn't make you feel sleepy. It doesn't knock you unconscious. It doesn't put you into a peaceful coma. You are 100% fully conscious. You are a helpless prisoner trapped inside a meat suit that has completely forgotten how to move. Doctors actually call this horrifying phenomenon pseudocoma. In 1967, a young diver in Australia was bitten by one of these things. By the time his friends rushed him to the hospital, his pupils were totally fixed and dilated. He wasn't breathing. He didn't respond to any pain stimulus. To the incredibly smart ER doctors looking at him, he looked completely brain dead. They were literally minutes away from looking at their watches and calling his official time of death.
A Sydney woman is lucky to be alive after being stung twice on the stomach by a blue-ringed octopus. The extremely venomous creature fell out from inside a shell that the woman had picked up at Chinaman's Beach in Mossman. New South Wales ambulance officers administered first aid to the painful bite area before transporting the woman, who is in her 30s, to Royal North Shore Hospital.
But because one single doctor in that room happened to know about the blue-ringed octopus, they hooked him up to a mechanical respirator. For 24 agonizing hours, he lay in that hospital bed looking like a stone statue. When his kidneys finally filtered the toxin out and he woke up, he told the doctors something that completely chilled them to the bone. He had been wide awake the entire time. He vividly heard them casually discussing his funeral arrangements. He felt them poking him with sharp needles. He tried with every single ounce of his human soul to just blink one eye, to twitch one tiny finger to tell them, "I'm still in here. Do not turn off the machine." He couldn't. But let's talk about those iconic glowing blue rings, because scientifically they are not what they seem. Evolution is rarely cruel without a very specific reason. The blue-ringed octopus genuinely does not want to kill you. You are way too big to eat, and it only has a highly limited supply of venom in its body. It just wants to be left alone. Most of the time, this animal is an absolute master of disguise. It uses pigment cells to perfectly mimic the exact texture and dull brown color of the reef. It is a total ghost, but if you poke it, if you accidentally step on it, if you try to pick it up for a cool Instagram photo, it undergoes a biological transformation that is one of the most beautiful sights in the natural world, and easily the most terrifying. If you took a blue-ringed octopus and put it under a powerful electron microscope, you would find something completely shocking. There is absolutely no blue pigment inside its body. None. If you took one of those rings and crushed it, it wouldn't stain your finger blue. This is a phenomenon that quantum physicists and biologists call structural color. Inside those glowing rings are highly specialized, complex cells called iridophores. They contain microscopic, mathematically perfect stacks of a specialized protein called reflectin. These biological stacks are spaced out at the exact microscopic distance required to absorb and completely cancel out every single color of visible light, except for electric blue. When the octopus is relaxed, it covers these mirror stacks with dark pigment cells called chromatophores, like pulling thick dark curtains over a window. But when it gets angry, it violently pulls those dark curtains back. The ambient ocean light hits those raw protein mirrors, and it literally bends the physics of light. It's the exact same physics that makes a fragile soap bubble look rainbow colored, or an oil slick on the street look purple. The octopus has literally evolved to manipulate the very physics of light itself to create a massive warning sign that never fades and never washes away. It's not just a color, it is a biological mirror aggressively reflecting the sun straight back at you. In nature, this is called aposematism. Bright flashing colors mean exactly one thing: I am worth significantly more dead than you can possibly afford to pay. But here's where the science gets even crazier. The blue-ringed octopus is actually part of an elite, deadly global club of assassins. It turns out that terrifying Tetrodotoxin we just talked about, it is one of nature's absolute favorite weapons. You find the exact same chemical inside the liver of a Japanese pufferfish. You find it in certain species of toxic tropical crabs. You even find it sweating out of the back of the tiny rough-skinned newt in the forests of North America. But why? Why on earth do so many completely unrelated animals, separated by millions of miles and millions of years of evolution, all use the exact same poison? Because TTX is the ultimate skeleton key of the animal kingdom. Almost every single living thing on this planet with a spine uses those exact same sodium channels to send nerve signals. By weaponizing TTX, the octopus has found a master key weapon that perfectly works on almost everything. Whether it's a giant human being, a massive predatory fish, or a hungry seagull diving from the sky, the mathematical result is exactly the same: instant total paralysis. But the octopus has a massive biological secret. It is completely immune to its own venom. Scientists recently discovered that the octopus has a highly specific, microscopic genetic mutation in its own sodium channels. The biological lock on its nerves is physically shaped differently, so the key, the venom, simply cannot fit inside. It can literally swim through a massive concentrated cloud of its own deadly toxin and feel absolutely nothing. It is a king living inside a castle made of glass, and it is the only creature on Earth who knows exactly how not to break it. Oh, and I haven't even told you the wildest plot twist yet. The octopus doesn't even make its own venom, it farms it. If you isolate an octopus in a sterile lab from birth, it has no TTX. The venom is actually produced by massive colonies of symbiotic Vibrio bacteria physically living inside the salivary glands of the octopus. The octopus provides these bacteria with a warm, incredibly safe home and a steady supply of rich nutrients. In exchange, the bacteria manufacture the biological nuke that protects the octopus from predators. It is a perfect, flawless evolutionary partnership. Unless, of course, you are a crab. When this animal isn't frantically defending itself from giant humans, it is a cold, calculated, 8-armed assassin. It hunts crabs, shrimp, and small fish. It doesn't chase them down aggressively like a great white shark. It stalks them. It uses its arms to silently walk across the seabed, disguising itself to look exactly like a drifting piece of dead kelp. When it gets close enough, it violently pounces. It wraps its webbed arms completely around the prey, creating an inescapable tent so the victim cannot flee. Then it uses that tiny razor beak to violently pierce the hard shell. It injects a terrifying cocktail of saliva, 1 part paralytic TTX, and 1 part highly acidic digestive enzyme. It literally turns the inside of a crab into a liquid soup while the crab is still fully alive and completely paralyzed. Which brings us to the most unsettling reality of this entire documentary. For every single blue-ringed octopus you see on a YouTube video or a viral TikTok, there are literally thousands that you walk right past and never ever notice. Marine biologists have done extensive deep dive surveys in massively popular tourist areas, beaches where hundreds of happy families swim every single day. When they look closely under the rocks, they find them everywhere. They are the absolute ghosts of the shoreline. They aren't actually rare, they are just incredibly shy. They spend 99% of their entire lives tucked away into old discarded glass beer bottles, empty clamshells, or deep dark rock crevices. They see your massive human shadow pass over them in the water, and they simply shrink back into the darkness and patiently wait for you to leave. We share the exact same water, the exact same sand, and the exact same sun. The only real reason there aren't thousands of horrifying human deaths every single year is that the octopus is, frankly, significantly more civilized than we are. It doesn't want the violent confrontation. It just wants to eat its crabs, stay hidden, and wait for the tide to come back in. You would honestly think that a biological creature this unbelievably powerful would live for decades, rolling the tide pools like a tyrant, but the blue-ringed octopus lives incredibly fast, and it dies incredibly young. Their entire violently toxic life cycle is usually completely over in just 2 short years. And the end of that life is strangely, profoundly tragic. Biologists call them semelparous. That means they get exactly 1 single shot at reproduction before they die. After mating, the male's health begins a rapid, catastrophic decline. He wanders aimlessly around the reef until he simply passes away. But the female? She has critical work left to do. She lays a clutch of about 50 tiny eggs, and she carefully gathers them all up. She physically carries them in her arms, aggressively protecting them from predators, constantly fanning them with fresh ocean water to keep them oxygenated. She does this continuously for months, and during those months, she never eats a single thing. Not once. She slowly starves. She physically wastes away in the dark. Her muscles completely atrophy. Her brilliant structural colors fade into a dull, lifeless gray. She is literally allowing her own body to digest itself just to stay alive long enough to see those eggs hatch. The exact moment the last tiny octopus drifts away into the ocean current, the mother dies. She never hunts again. She never sees the sunlight again. She gives absolutely everything she is. All that evolutionary power, all that deadly venom, just to ensure the next generation of tiny killers exists. It's a remarkably quiet, incredibly lonely end for the world's most dangerous animal. The ocean is not a theme park. It is a wild, unpredictable, highly evolved ecosystem. The blue-ringed octopus isn't a malicious monster. It doesn't actively hunt humans. It doesn't lurk in the dark deep, waiting to strike us down. It's just a tiny 2-year-old animal trying desperately to protect its eggs and find a simple meal. It gives us absolutely every single warning we could ever possibly ask for. It flashes its bright neon lights. It actively hides in the sand. It desperately tries to be completely invisible. The real danger isn't the animal. The danger is our own human arrogance. Our overwhelming need to touch things, to own things, to pick things up, to show off for a camera. Next time you are out walking at the beach and you see a small, beautiful shell or a tiny, fascinating shape moving in a rock pool, remember, Jamie, remember the perfectly calm Tuesday morning. If it's small and it's beautiful and it is aggressively trying to tell you something, just listen. Because the ocean respects the warning signs, and the ocean doesn't care if you don't.